everyone, Adam here, So Is Your Podcast. I got to sit down with Adam Rose once again to have a nice conversation about his comic Corollary. Adam was on the show once before, we got to talk, really cool guy, really knowledgeable in the comic world, and we go off on some tangents because he's just fun to geek out with on pretty much everything. We talk TV, we talk comics, we talk cons, we talk comic creation. Really great times, like hanging out with an old friend, even though this is only the second time I ever talked to him, but I have a feeling he's going to be on the show again because he is always producing something. Corollary is a sci-fi adventure comic. It's in a galaxy where everything's a twin. Planets, people, aliens, everything. If your twin dies, you die, except for the titular character. I forget her name, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Her twin dies and gets to live, and she's kind of a celebrity in this universe while everyone's trying to figure out why, and she just kind of wants to be a person. It's really cool, it's really well done, and I cannot talk enough about how much I like the artwork. It is outstanding. It's done in watercolors, which is just such a cool thing to do in a comic book, especially one this inventive, because Adam's imagination just goes for it. There's no rules. And something else that I really like about it is it plops you in the universe. You're there. It's not comparisons to our universe. It's not lengthy exposition explaining the universe. It's just, here you go, enjoy the story, figure it out, which to me is the best kind of world building, not the exposition dumps. Anyway, now I'm rambling. Enjoy the conversation with Adam Rose.
Yep.
All right. Hey everyone, Adam here, So Is Your Podcast, sitting down with Adam Rose once again to talk about his comic Corollary. Adam, it's been a few months, but how you doing?
Good. It's great to see you again, and I love just getting the chance to talk comics, my comics, any comics, your comics with you. This it's fun to be on the show again, and I'm at a kind of exciting point as far as just seeing going from single issues since last April to now the trade is being released of Corollary. Well, funny because of paper shortages, it was supposed to be last week. It's coming out mid to late October.
Yeah, I feel your pain, and that's not even that bad of a slowdown. We've been waiting on our next two issues for 3 months.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I should, fingers crossed that is accurate, because it seems like supply chain issues, they trickle in all the time here. So but I'm putting together the trade was an awesome experience. If anybody has gone down that road, it's a whole different animal in some ways, even though you have the story in the single issues. But just I was really fortunate to get this kind of a mentor for me out here where I live in LA. His name's Adam Beechin. He wrote the intro for the trade, and he's a big animation writer. He's done Batman Brave and the Bold, Transformers, recent work on all these Lego animated series. I mean, you name it, the guy's got. And he did a lot of DC Final Countdown comics back in the day. He did a Batgirl run. Needless to say, I'm over the moon that he said yes to. He wrote the intro for the trade, which is just exciting to have in there. Plus, Rob Ahmad, the artist, did a bunch of little bonus kind of process pages to see kind of his inks ahead of all the watercolors he did by hand. And then lastly, I have this guy that I just met at my local comic shop that's become a good friend. He's a doctor by day, but he's an artist by night. That could be an interesting superhero premise. But he did a nice pinup, a bonus cover for the back matter.
Very cool, yeah. It is always fun when you go from issues to trade to get the formatting, and then you're like, I want to spice it up. There's people who bought every issue. What is the incentive to keep buying?
Right. No, and I think for this story too, because Corollary is such a what's the word? Complicated science fiction story that we made sure, SourcePoint and I knew it was going to be a good idea, since it was coming out monthly, to have a little blurb recap of whatever happened in the issues prior. So this way, I'm wondering, I'll be curious to see how people digest it all in one scoop. I think that's going to only benefit the story. And granted, I did, and this is I feel like comics, and I love them so much that I've said this before, and I'll always say it. I think comics are so much like jazz, and and also I could geek out on the fact that if you look at these two American original artistic creations, they both came at the same time, and I think that's not a coincidence. And I mean, like just especially like not, and I know it's a whole different animal, like talking about like digital creation of comics first, but like if you're thinking about a comic in a page, you're thinking, okay, what's this next panel? Splash page. Like there's like just the ebb and flow of how you have even the layout is got its own music to it. So I don't know. I guess my point is having that all laid out in the trade, maybe you lose a little of the suspense at the end of an issue, because I was really intentional about having that last page or last panel of each issue be like, oh crap, I got to see what's next.
That makes a lot of sense. I did start reading because you sent me a copy of the trade. Because before when we talked, I only read the first issue, so I started back from the beginning, and I'm probably just really close to the halfway mark now. And it is reading like one continuous. It doesn't feel jarring at any point where like you kind of like I don't have to realize there was separate issues.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it's been fun just getting to this point, and I guess I am a little nervous about. I hope all is now the timetable's set as far as it actually just being printed, but that's the name of the game, and as you know, I mean, it's this is just the times we live in as far as like getting physical copies of anything out there. But I'm also hoping to before we started, I was just saying how I was looking at online about all the people going to New York right now, and that's awesome. I mean, I hope to someday like get out there for that con. I've heard it's incredible. And I'm actually hoping that I'm going to get to meet Source Point in San Francisco. They're going to be at Fan Expo, which is the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I've never been to that one. I've been like just down to like here in Southern California, like WonderCon, Long Beach Con. Of course, I've been to Comic-Con, but I've not been to anything in San Francisco.
I know there's a Fan Expo Boston over on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Is it the same company? Do you know?
I would guess it is, but I'm only guessing.
Yeah, I would assume so, because why would you copy the name? But
right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm already, hard at work on 2 new projects. I mean, I was working, I don't know about you, but for me, even if once I finish something, I've already got ideas that I've started. So I've been like hard at work on 2 other mini series with 2 different artists. I'm really excited about. They're both in different stages, but one of the artists I'm working with, he's amazing. His name is Magenta King. He did the Jenny Zero series from Dark Horse. He's done a bunch of stuff for Humanoids. So we're in the sketchy stage, but we're getting closer and closer. And then my other guy is amazing. His name's Jose Luis, and he and I are working on this other mini series, and which is more of a espionage superhero thriller, but with geopolitical consequences. So that I mean, I'm like always I can't when it comes to writing, for me it's such a passion that like I need to keep doing it even when already I've seen something finished. It's just it's like the light at the end of the tunnel always has to be there for me.
Yeah. No, that's cool that you do keep moving. It's funny too, because when I started writing the comic that I'm doing, you always hear people talk about writer's block, and like it's like a fear, but it's like writer's block is never the problem. It's how do I have enough time to write all the ideas?
Yes. No, that's one thing I couldn't agree more. And I feel as I've gotten like more experience as a writer, the discipline has gotten better. Like it's funny, like even though in some ways life is gets busier and busier, but like the time I do have I'm a lot more concentrated, and I'm also a lot like just structured about staying in particular lanes. But I don't mind, I know some people, like I have one idea, I have to just see that one all the way through. Like I have these 2 things that I just told you about, and yeah, they were staggered in me writing them, but there was some overlap, and that for me that was all right. I mean, granted, I'm not like going to have like 5, 6 different things, though. If like any of if the big 2 or anyone big wants to hire me, I'll take it on. If you want me writing Green Lantern, Justice League, and Batman all at the same time, I'm all yours.
Absolutely, yeah. There's always a way, right?
Always a way. You know what? I mean, I'm not against staying caffeinated all day and all night.
Yeah, exactly. Do a couple nice sprints, get some more comics out there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I don't ever want to say no. I mean, I also had the opportunity with a bio comic publisher named Tidal Wave. They had me do like a little like one shot bio comic about Dave Grohl, which I think is coming out eventually because they, saw my work through SourcePoint, and then I'm also doing a original story for them. That's a one shot about like these Greek mythology characters. So,
Oh, that's cool.
and yeah, that's been exciting, and I don't want to. I'm always going to be looking, and it's a hustle, but it's because I love it and because I love reading them, and I've been in the comic books have been in my blood since I was like 10 years old or earlier, and I just the other day I don't know if you've ever read like back in the day like comic, the funny pages or whatever, but I was just like trying to find collections of Hagar the Horrible.
Okay. Did they?
Random, but I don't know, and it's actually really hard to find collections of Hagar because that's how dated I guess he is now. Or I don't even know if he's continuing. I know it's funny. Just to go down this lane a little longer. Apparently, he passed the creator passed the torch on to his son, and it kept going like in the 80s and 90s. I don't know where it is now, but it's because I think maybe because I went and saw the movie The Northman, so I was like, oh, I wonder,
Okay.
I wonder what Hagar's doing.
It's a weird connection, but all right. I think you could like watch the History Channel show Vikings or something.
That's a great one too. Yes.
It is good, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, and I've been reading. I mean, I don't know. I get depressed when I see on social media comics people like have polls like, "Are comics over?" Or, and I guess maybe a lot of times they're like people complaining about whatever direction they disagree with like Marvel and DC, which I don't know. That's just crazy to me because I'm still reading plenty of great books in both those companies. But I don't know, or people say, "Oh, look at the sales here or there." But I feel like I'm like the new stuff I'm reading is blowing my mind. I mean, just this new miniseries in Image. If you haven't heard of 20th Century Men,
No.
oh, the art is gorgeous. I'm really bad with names, otherwise I'd say who they are, but incredible. And then this. Now this is a name we all know, but Vanish by Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman, brand new Image series. Great stuff. It's like what if Harry Potter's world was kind of on the evil side and some of the evil wizards came to our world and masked themselves as superheroes.
Okay, that's cool.
And they actually do seem to be atoning for whatever evil they did, but this one Harry Potterish guy is going to kill them all, but he's going to look like he's the bad guy.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. And the art, I mean, Stegman's incredible, but yeah, and I'm like today I'm kind of excited because I guess I'm mentioning like really big names, so it's like a no-brainer that they're probably putting out great stuff. But I love that like Jeff Johns is like back in the Image world. Like we're not back, but he's been doing like he did Geiger, and now he's got a spin-off of Geiger at issue 1 today. Not GI Joe, but it's like this android soldier that they had like backstories of in his Geiger series. So he's building a brand new superhero sandbox in his Image comics. So I don't know.
It's kind of going back to your point on like people saying comics are dead is like it's always been an up and down and up and down and up and down. Like they said in the 60s that comics almost burned out and then the Batman 66 show revitalized. Like they're always on the verge and then in a heyday and on the verge in the heyday. And just because the big two aren't the big two anymore doesn't mean that comics are. Look at the world of indie comics. There's more than ever.
No, that's what I mean. I'm loving indie comics, and I am just learning about how big the indie comic scene is, or has been for a long time. But in like Kickstarter too, like it's like people are going just instead of the stores, they're going straight to Kickstarter for all their comics. And I I've been dabbling in that more and more, and if like my upcoming series, I'm one or both of them might be on Kickstarter. I don't know. Like that's a world that I'm still exploring, but just even picking up books. Like I got Matt Kint's book that he did on there called Cosmic Detective. Gorgeous stuff. The artist, I'm blanking on his name. He's Spanish. He did a Dark Horse series called Ether, but beautiful book. Took like them I like remember I ordered it like over like year and a half ago, but I got it. It's amazing. So yeah, I think it's just the indie comic world is just blowing up. Source Point Press is just getting bigger by the day. They just partnered with Cullen Bunn. They have like an affiliation with like a film production company that they're growing exponentially. So that's just amazing. And they're amazing people. Like I was just telling you that before. Like it's just a great company, and seeing how they're just no holds barred for where they're what they can do.
That's also awesome because if you think about like here's some of the stories about the earliest creators, like the Joel Schuster and what's the other guy's name who made Superman?
Oh yeah, Siegel.
Siegel and Schuster, yeah. And they basically died penniless because DC had all like that's not the case with the comic world anymore. Like a lot of these indie publishers are like, we'll help you out. Yes, we'll take a bit, but you get to use our name, our network. You own it all. Like that's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's a great model, and some things, and yeah, you just got to keep creating. That's the thing. If you love it, and first, as you know as well as I do, you're not in it for the short run. It's a long game, and you got to love it and continue to love it for it to have the benefits that you're looking for.
You do it for the love of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't imagine not reading comics or writing them, and until that happens, and I don't see it coming. So it's just, I get the other area I would love to know more about that I've dabbled in is just reading and looking at web comics. That seems to be getting bigger and bigger, like webtoons. And that's the other thing that Source Point has just partnered with Global Comics with an X.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that company a lot. Like a lot.
I think now it's exclusive. Any Source Point comic is, as far as digitally, is going to only be on Global Comics. So that's already true for Corollary. I know that, but it's there, and I think they're a little different from webtoons, but they're getting bigger and bigger. I think they're going to have a pretty big presence at New York this weekend.
What I like about them compared to like webtoons is webtoons for a comic like yours or like mine, you have to cut your pages up and make them fit in that.
Yeah.
Where Global Comics is more like Comixology, where it's like, no, here's just a digital version of the comic.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's the other thing. Like, I would love to know. I think that's a separate, just in creating. If you're intentionally creating for a web comic, that's a whole different vibe. I mean, and which way do you want it? Do you want people to scroll? Do you want like down and like one of the biggest ones I've read, and it's so big. This person, I think she has millions of followers, and it's going to be a Netflix series. Is Lore Olympus? I don't know if you've heard of that. LORE. It's basically a soap opera with Greek gods.
Sounds good.
It's amazing. And I mean, it's all every issue or episode is very brief. They're like 6 pages a pop. But they're just high drama, gorgeous art, and I think in the next year or two we're going to be seeing an animated version of it.
I feel like that model's even harder to write for. Like, hey, tell your story in 4 to 6 pages. It's like I have a hard time getting it down to 22.
No, and that's the other thing with Source Point. They were really, because they're so flexible, they gave me permission. Like I was able to, a couple of the single issues of Corollary were like 25 pages. So I wasn't, I could have cut them down, but it's okay. You can have it. We're okay with a couple more pages. We're not totally, it's not a lockdown 22 every time. So that was awesome. I mean, the flexibility, it's kind of like the streaming world of TV now. It's like people have episodes that are 32 minutes or 37 or 30.
Not 22 or 43.
Yeah. So that's great that it doesn't matter. Like tell the story, with a little wiggle room.
That is good too, because that's funny. When we first started doing our comic, I was so like, well, the big two do 22 pages. We have to do 22 pages. And like, oh, this one's going to be 23. I'm like, no, we got to cut stuff, cut that joke, cut this. And then it's like, what does it matter if it's 22 or 57? We're doing it ourselves. Let's just do it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think more and more maybe not. I wonder if Image is super strict about that. That's a good question. I haven't looked at their page counts, but maybe they are a little more regimented. But then I've been like geeking out over all the new stuff coming out through Dark Horse too. Like they have this new one called Survival Street, which is like Sesame Street type characters in a kind of dystopic future. It's it's messed up. It's wonderful though. And then Patton Oswalt, the stand-up comic, he has a new series, Minor Threats, like all these C-list supervillains kind of dealing with some existential threat, and it's great. It's great to see.
That's a Dark Horse also?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, Dark Horse is making a big comeback then.
Yeah, no, they've been, that's because I feel like I dropped off of them for a while, but now like there's a lot of books of theirs that I'm all about.
They had such cool IPs in the past. Like when I was a kid, they were doing like the Star Wars comics, the Alien comics, Predator. Like they had awesome IP.
Yeah. Now those are all like Marvel or who knows where. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah.
If anyone's even doing Colonial Marines anymore.
Yeah, I wonder when our next Alien movie will be.
Did you watch the Predator one on Hulu?
I loved it.
It was so good. It was so, I'm like, this is what this franchise needs. It's like return to form, but still different.
It was great. I can't believe I was almost disappointed that I watched it at home. Like it felt like it would have been amazing to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it was great. It was as good as the first one.
It was right up there for sure. Yeah.
And
it was really cool.
All the middle, I mean, I can't say I've gone to rewatch like Predator 2 with Danny Glover or Alien versus Predator or any of those other ones. So I don't know how those hold up. But
yeah, I don't think I'll be revisiting AVP, but every couple of years I watch Aliens, and I go up to I think number 3, and then it's kind of like, all right, it gets a bit silly from here.
No, the Alien franchise, yes. How I am one of the few people, I will admit this publicly, I loved that more recent one that he did. It's like it was a prequel. Why am I blanking?
Covenant?
Yes. I liked it.
It definitely had its moments. I don't remember loving it, but I'd only seen it the one time. So.
And the one before Covenant.
Yeah, with the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Yeah, and Guy Pearce.
Yes, I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I don't either. But I guess I'm just a Ridley Scott sucker. Like his vibe. I loved, and I was so sad that HBO canceled it. That Raised by Wolves series.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Especially the first season.
I couldn't believe a show like that existed. And I guess that's why it got canceled, because I was like, this is too high concept, way super cerebral science fiction for it to have a big enough audience. Because it was.
And it looked expensive.
Yeah. But no, I love that. Yeah. I mean, but now it's gone. But I think, back to like the world of like our comics, it's just now, here's the trades coming out for this. I have idea. I mean, I already have like a outline scripted for like a part 2 mini series if I ever got the opportunity. That's something I want to like just hopefully down the road talk to Source Point about. But it's the kind of, Corollary's been the kind of story that, and I left the end when you get there, you'll see it's like I left it in satisfaction as far as an ending, but also open for it to continue.
That's the best way to do a comic. You have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely plan on finishing it the next couple days. But actually, we probably should, in case people didn't hear our first conversation or haven't looked into Corollary, we should probably, go back to like, what's your elevator pitch? Like,
sure. Yeah, no, it's in a galaxy of twins where there are twin moons, twin dinosaur space stations. Everyone has a twin, but in this galaxy, if your twin dies, so do you. But somehow, some way, this one person has escaped that death, and the galaxy wants to know how she did it.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's where it starts, and then it just goes in some wild directions. Rob Ahmad did the art. He lives in the United Kingdom. He also watercolored by hand the first 3 issues.
Yeah, the art and the watercoloring it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
like, it's amazing.
No, taking that angle on this, I think, made it even more I don't know, just made it a more unique book, I hope. And it kind of blends like a sci-fi vibe with the fantasy elements that are also in there.
It does, yeah. And the amount of like shading and lighting and everything he gets on the watercolor, it's incredible.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, originally we thought, oh, we'll just use that for certain mood switches, and have the rest like digitally colored. But it just made sense to have the whole book like this. And then he kind of burnt out at the end of the third issue, so we went to a digital colorist, Gabrielle Metzler. She mimicked his watercolors for the fourth issue digitally.
Okay. It's
So
if I got to the transition, which I imagine I have, I'm a little bit more than halfway through, it's not very noticeable.
good. Yeah, no, she did a great job. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I mean the characters that are still alive and well, without saying too much, are they have a lot more story in them if I get the chance.
That's good. Yeah. And like I was saying, I think that's the best way to do a comic is that you have to make it your story, but then you have to leave it open because people ideally always want more.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah, absolutely. So
How did how did the idea first strike you? Because it's not just everyone has a twin, if your twin dies, you die. It's very much sci-fi and a whole established universe. And I like that you don't waste pages and pages of exposition. Like, oh, here's this, planet or set of planets, and this is how they operate. And this is like, no, you're just there. You're in it. You're doing it.
Yeah, no, I kind of wanted to just jump in the middle of this giant cosmic sandbox, and I didn't want to. Yeah, as far as kind of the rules of this galaxy, I wanted it to be loose. I wanted to kind of have permission to have like sentient planets talking. I mean, yes, that's existed before, like Green Lantern. It's Muog, right? Isn't that the name of the planet? That's a like sentient Green Lantern planet.
That
Maybe.
sounds right, but a bigger DC fan might come down on us.
This is true. But yeah, so that was I was I was definitely influenced, hopefully positively, by people like like Kirby and his like what he created with like the Celestials, because there's like it's only in passing, but we had a scene that I just love of these two kind of cosmic gods arm wrestling, and they use a moon as their armrest. I mean, I wanted to just say yes to anything and everything as far as what is possible in the universe for Andromeda to explore, and that was the fun of it all. And then, the other big part of it that made it, I hope, grounded was just the importance of family for the main characters, and staying like figuring out who they are with those family members and who they are apart from them. And in a galaxy where you have a twin, some beings want to keep those twins super close to them. Some even like just the rules of that world kind of give you an opportunity for new stories too, because we see like one character, the Warden Toad, he keeps his twin in a straitjacket in a padded cell because he doesn't want any harm to come to him through his twin. So, and then there are other twins who have their siblings galaxies away, and they're just going to have to hope that nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
So, that's I think the stories that can tell is pretty wide berth of opportunities, and just a few characters that, especially by the end, that you get to meet, like the other family members and their twins and what their identities are like apart from each other, is going to be very different from what they're like with each other.
That is all really interesting, and you do take a lot of time to explore it.
Yeah, I mean, I think any character that I write, and I'm sure you feel the same way, there's a part of you in there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just letting that character take over. You're letting that part of you just breathe on its own.
Yeah, especially once you're up and running, you're past the initial stages, what
Yes.
you're doing, you know where you're going. The story is telling itself to you as much as you're writing it down.
Yeah, no, and I guess to your original question, like one of the early stages of this for me, I mean, I had it all scripted out for the series length, but I'm also a huge fan of 2000 AD. Speaking of England and their like that comic company, and they have a mini series called Future Shocks, and those are all 5-page stories or 4 pages, and they have to be self-contained. So Rob and I tried to experiment with like creating kind of a 4-page snippet version of this, that in that kind of Future Shocks vibe. And in fact, that was an early mini story that we had kind of published separately in an anthology by One Sheet Press, and then developed it into the series it became.
Okay, that's a cool start.
Yeah.
It's very cinematic in that way that, I mean, one, you could see this as, you know, the next sci-fi thing on Amazon or something like that, but also that a lot of the indie movies start as shorts and then become, here's the full concept.
Yeah, no, it kind of, I think it helped going through that stage as far as just figuring it, because even Rob's art style changed dramatically when we got into the actual series. In the 4-pager, very cerebral, very sketchy looking, not very cartoony at all. And then he kind of went like Bruce Timm Explosion, Batman animated series vibes with the series, plus the watercoloring, and that's just, you know, that gave its own life to it. And there's like a nice kind of, I don't know, a contrast. Like there's serious moments happening, yet these characters have, like I said, I mean this in the most complimentary way. I'm not saying we are doing Bruce Timm here, but where I think there is a vibe that's similar with Rob's work. And like, so you have this kind of contrast, like these kind of cartoonish looking characters in these super serious moments, and also these just over the top beings that they're interacting with.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, especially when you're doing a more out there sci-fi story like yours, is if you're not taking it serious, why would a reader?
Right. Yes. 100%. Like you can write the silliest thing on the planet, but if you don't take it seriously, then people are going to cringe. Like, oh, you're going for the jokes or whatever it is. Like, you can't. I think that's true with anything. That's very well said. Like, if
you can go for a joke, but if you're not taking it seriously and you're making it a joke, that comes across.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So that's also something that I think, because while reading through it, I forget the main character's name, which is terrible. I'm just so bad with names.
Yes, I mean, I am too. Andromeda, and then we also find out about her sister Cassiopeia.
Okay, Andromeda is, I mean, the page I have open now, which I keep looking over to my other monitor, she's talking to clawed aliens with 3 eyes and horns, but she's such a real character, you buy her as a person.
Yes, thank you. No, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, no, that's what I wanted here. It's kind of like, I mean, I am a huge Star Trek fan growing up, and like just, you know, Kirk, Picard, you name it, they never really blinked at any of their interactions with other beings. And I wanted this to be a galaxy where it's very commonplace. More, I think maybe even in some ways more commonplace to have these interactions than like a Star Trek. Because, you know, Star Trek, it's a premise where like they're looking, you know, exploring new planets. Here, it's like there isn't a new planet to explore, at least not in the story I'm telling. It's a galaxy where everybody knows each other. And that's why everybody's like, how did this person, this being, escape this twin death?
Yeah, everywhere she goes, people know her deal.
Yeah. So this is like a different, I guess maybe you could argue it's like a Star Wars as far as like, you know, that's not where no one's like looking at discovering new planets there. It's like the whole galaxy is mapped out.
Yeah, it's all there. And that's kind of what I was saying before with like, you don't have big exposition dumps on like, oh, from our Earth point of view, here's what's different here. When you watch Star Wars, it's like, here's the world. It's been existing. You're in it.
Yeah.
Same thing with what you're doing.
That's it. So it's been a blast, and I hope I get to continue it in one way or another. And like I said, like the other stories that I'm like almost finished developing, I'm excited to get the word out on those too. So it's just keeping on and finding new ways and just getting to talk like to you anytime is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always fun supporting indie creators, and especially when like I'm also a fan.
Yeah, no, I know. And you like just had that con in Massachusetts.
Yeah, for my comic, we just sold at our first con month and a half ago or something at the end, towards the end of summer. It was the first one, so I was a little intimidated. I wanted to make sure that we looked professional. We were doing our thing, but it went really well for us, so that was good.
That's great. Now, how many days was it?
Just one.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's why it was a good one to start at. It was
Yeah.
1 hour day. I was there by myself because the guy I do the comic with is in Seattle. I'm in upstate New York, so it didn't make any sense for him to fly cross country for a 1-day con.
That's awesome, though, that you guys can kind of pincer move the whole country. Because, well, I've always wanted to go to Emerald Con in Seattle. I heard that's amazing.
Yeah, he goes to it not as a vendor, but he's gone to it as a person.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that in the next few years we can generate word of mouth and get a little bit more listenership and make it worth going to like a bigger 3-day con like that, where people are kind of looking for us. And that's kind of our closer reach goal would be like an Emerald City size, not quite New York or San Diego.
Yes. Well, the one that I keep hearing about, and it's where the Ringo Awards are, is Baltimore.
Okay, yeah, I've been talking to some indie creators there too. Like they came on the show. I've been on their show for my comic, and we just kind of talk back and forth now. They're right in that area.
I've heard from more and more people from all over that's a con, like kind of what you're describing. Like that's the perfect size con, and it's an indie comics dream kind of place to be.
That's the other thing to look out for. And nothing against the cons that have like tons of celebrity guests, like Hollywood stars, and it's an autograph thing, because some people go for that. But as an indie creator, from what I see, is if you don't get the right table placement, or I'm selling my books at $5 each. We're looking for a cheaper way to do it. But at $5, somebody might go get 2 autographs and they're like, that's it, I'm tapped out. I'll walk around, it'll look cool, but that's the end of my spending money.
No, and it was exciting for me. Because of Corollary, I got to vote on the Ringos this year, so that was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you did Baltimore?
I didn't do it. No. I just got to vote.
Okay.
I got to be a voter. No, I didn't get to go. But I got to just look at all the nominees for the Ringos, and I didn't vote on every category because I didn't know every comic. But it was awesome to get to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you had like reading material for 3 months.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, here we are again today on Wednesday, the best day of the week, New Comic Book Day.
Yeah, there you go.
Are you a regular? Do you go to the brick and mortar on a weekly basis?
I was for a while, and then I kind of fell out of it, and I got back into it when we started creating our comic. And then I kind of got out of it too, because I was reading a lot to see what other people were doing. But then I would realize, like, oh, what they did in the backgrounds here, we should be doing. Oh, I really like what they did here, we should be doing. And I'm like, I don't want my comic to be parts of other comics. I want it to be my comic.
Sure.
I actually took a step back from reading, and when I do, it'll be something nothing like what we're doing.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little sad to admit as a comic creator, like not reading so many comics right now, but
no, I get that. I mean, for me, I think, sort of what you're getting at there too. I think it's important for me, for my creative juices, to always get out of my comfort zone with different types of things that I'm reading.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, or listening to, or going to, like doing things that, maybe I'm not particularly a opera person. Like going to an opera, I think you never know where you're going to get influenced.
That's true.
Or I should, in a positive way, not in like what you were just saying about hope. You don't want to like be, taint your vision. But I also want to be open to idea. And even going back at them, I brought it up kind of half kidding, but like just looking at old Hagar the Horrible comics, I don't know. I think, just going out of my normal lanes is helpful for my growth as a writer.
That makes sense. And I think it is good as a creator to absorb as much creative content, whatever it is, as possible.
Yeah.
Music, podcasts, history,
yes,
books, novels, whatever.
No, I've been on a listening to stand-up comedy like run like crazy lately, because my commute here in LA is horrible. So my new hack, though I'm sure I'm not the first person to do this, I've gone through all the stand-up comics that I could get on Spotify. I am now playing without looking at it. I'm playing Netflix stand-up on
Yeah.
my phone. Without look, I'm like, why did I not think of this before? I mean, so I've run through like Nick Kroll, Aziz Ansari has a new one. What's his name? The English, not the Rick Gervais. I've just been consuming all these stand-ups without getting to see them as I'm driving all over this crazy highway town.
Yeah, I have been listening to more comedy stuff, whether it's podcasts like interview style stuff or whatever, but just to see how their minds work or the setups that you don't see coming. And I try to use not copy their jokes, but the same style in my writing where obviously it's a written script. It's very much set up, but I want it to seem like my characters are witty and it's coming natural.
Yeah, of course. It helps with any. I think you're right about it helping a lot with natural sounding dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Especially kind of like longer form interviews where the people are just naturally funny. Like one thing that I've been really big on lately is the guys from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia have a podcast. And it started as a rewatch podcast, but it's really just the three of them hanging out. And they've been friends, through the show for like 20 years.
Yes.
So it just their natural comedic timing and like the ball busting and stuff. It's like you're just hanging out with your friends and you're just kind of sitting back. It's great.
Yeah, no, I gotta check. I love them, and I love one of their. I forget their names, like who's who, but that Apple show Mythic Quest.
Yeah, that's Rob McElhenney, I think is how you say it. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I think that show's been fun. I mean, it has different vibes, but it's I love seeing him in anything. So
yeah,
I haven't loved him enough to watch that documentary series with him and Ryan Reynolds owning a soccer team.
I was just going to bring that up. I was watching that all morning.
I should give it a shot.
I think so because I don't care at all about soccer. I really don't. And it's a cool documentary because it is about Rob and Ryan Reynolds. For people who don't know, Rob and Ryan Reynolds together bought a football club, like a lower tier football club in Wales, and they're trying to revitalize it and get them promoted, the way that the UK soccer leagues work. So it's about them as owners, them kind of as friends too, but then it goes into like the heart of the town, what the football club means to the people, how football works and stuff. And not caring at all about the sport, you're like riveted because it's like, I wish I cared about something as much as these people care about this sports team in their town. Right. And then the steps to improve it. And because they're so passionate about it, like the episode I was just watching, Rob and Ryan are in Wrexham, they're in Wales talking to the fans, and the fans don't have any second thought and any reservations about saying like, hey, we appreciate where your heart's at. You're doing it wrong.
All right, I got to check it out then.
And then they do some really fun, like there was one whole episode about just all the different promo stuff they did, and it's their sense of humor, they're back and forth and just kind of making fun of the fact that Rob's just a TV star and Ryan made Green Lantern, it was terrible, like a lot of stuff like that. So it's really good.
All right, I'm in. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess speaking of Ryan Reynolds, I am excited that he got Hugh Jackman to go back, put the claws back on one more time.
I hope it happens.
It sounds from official.
It does, but how many times now do they announce things like, oh, this is coming in 3 years, and 2.5 years are like, yeah, we canceled it.
True. You're right.
Yeah.
My theory,
on your parade.
My theory is Hugh Jackman's going to do it for one movie, and they're going to bring in X-23, and they're going to use the actor, that girl from Logan.
They should. That Logan was fantastic.
And, even though that took place in the future because of the multiverse or whatever, they can pluck X-23 out of the Logan verse and bring her to the Marvel. And that actor is the perfect age now. Because I was just, when I was making my hypothesis, a friend Google imaged her. It's like been 6 years since Logan. She looks great. She'd be perfect as X-23.
That would be cool. Yeah.
So that's my prediction. You heard it here first.
Well, we know the X-Men are going to be wrapped into the whole MCU engine in some way soon, and I guess they kind of started at Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and Fantastic Four, though I guess maybe not John Krasinski.
Yeah, which that was my favorite part of Multiverse of Madness.
I know. Though I didn't like how easily Black Bolt was handled.
No, but maybe just because nobody liked the show.
Yeah, I didn't even watch it once. That's right.
I think I watched the first 1.5 episodes, and I'm like, oh, this is like I'm a big Marvel fan, but this is rough. And then it was canceled not long after.
And that was the actor. He was Black Bolt.
Same dude, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it was like a nod at that.
Yeah, could have been. It's like, hey, this is all connected, but we don't need them.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, no, it's been. I mean, I'm excited for Wakanda Forever, and my son and I were going to go see Black Adam. You know, we're all about the future franchise movies this fall.
Yeah, I feel like they lost their footing a little bit after like Endgame, and then the Spider-Mans have been great. I just watched Thor: Love and Thunder because after Multiverse of Madness, I was like, oh man, they don't really care anymore. It's kind of a mess.
That's true.
The shows I haven't been huge on, but I'm hoping they kind of find their next phase and pick it up again.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's been a little middling. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think Wakanda is going to be great. I just that
it looks cool.
Yeah.
I hope they do Ironheart right.
Yep.
I just don't want it to be like, oh, it's just like Iron Man, but better in every way. It's like, no, make her own thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, the original characters, like wasn't it Bendis that created her?
Not sure who created her. I know I read those first handful of issues that introduced her.
Yeah, I know she had a lot going on. She was like struggling at MIT, and like Tony Stark kind of. I guess he's not around to discover her, in quote unquote.
Well, Tony Stark was the AI in her suit. He was the Jarvis then. That's right. Kind of a cool way to backdoor Robert Downey Jr. back in it without having to pay him his fees. Like, just come and do some voiceover work.
You're right. That'd be cool. I did just read that we might see him again. They're making that Don Cheadle Armor Wars instead of a series. They're going to make it a movie.
Good, because a lot of their series, I think, should have just been a movie.
Yeah.
Like Falcon and Winter Soldier would have been a really cool 2.5-hour movie.
Yeah, like kind of a Bourne Identity movie. I agree with that.
Yeah. Because then you can take the budget of 10 episodes and make it in 2 hours and have a big spectacular thing.
Yes. Yeah, and not some of those episodes just seem like filler.
Right, exactly.
You're right.
I think the model is if people pay for 1 month, we can't let them watch the movie. You have to stretch it into 2 months at least.
Yeah.
Put the subscription base up.
I think you're right. No, it's true. We'll see. But that's like the upcoming stuff. And then, as far as back to like the wonderful world of comics, I'm just
sorry, some tangents.
No. I love it. No, I mean, I'm my local store. We're hoping to have like a signing party hangout.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and like that artist that did the pinup, my friend that lives locally, he's gonna come in and hang out there. Because that's been great too. Just the local stores have been really cool about having me come in. I got to go to Golden Apple during Free Comic Book Day, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they weren't there for me, but because I was there, I sold out of single issues.
That's awesome.
And the Comic Bug, they have 2 stores out here. They've been amazing to me. And then my local guy, his name's Ace, and he owns a tiny little shop that I love called Comics vs. Toys. I'll be going there later today to get my stack. So
there you go.
And I hope, we'll do the signing at his shop end of October and make it a party. And then I hope to have more things to tell you about as far as my upcoming projects.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hit me up anytime.
Yeah. Oh, and likewise. No, I'm excited to, next time you know what con you're going to be at, let me know ahead of time. I might try to get there.
I'm all East Coast, so that might be tough for you, but I appreciate that.
My family lives in Massachusetts, so okay. I'm always looking for an excuse.
Yeah, I'm always doing New England shows. There's a ton in New England. I think for like 4 months, if you were willing to drive up to 3 hours, you could do a con a week in New England.
I believe it. Yeah, no, that's great for the yeah. People love their comics there. There's a lot of good hole in the wall shops.
Yeah. And a lot of good conventions, a lot of those good mid-sized conventions like we were talking about.
Yeah, no,
Like
I gotta.
the Wizard, we're going as press to Rhode Island. It's the biggest con in the smallest state.
Well, when is the Rhode Island one?
No, November 5th and 6th, I believe. That first weekend in November.
You should look for Josh Werner. He's the CEO of SourcePoint, and he's going to be there.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, he will be there for sure. I remember seeing some announcements about that. That he's going to be doing some panels, and he's definitely. I don't know if SourcePoint's having a booth, but I know he has been invited to speak there.
Very cool. I'll have to hit that panel up.
Yeah, definitely. So he's getting. He has his own series, Winchester Murder Mysteries. I mean, he's been kicking ass.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I've seen that.
Yeah, he's doing great. So SourcePoint, I can't speak highly enough about him. And I should give a shout out. Cam Kirkow was like kind of an editor for Corollary with SourcePoint. His feedback has been really helpful throughout the whole process. So I don't want to leave him out of talking about them. And I mentioned like DC Hopkins was my letterer. He's he does every big publishing company there is, and he was nice enough to work with me, and he was very patient with like just even little tweaks I would do. He was open to like, okay, you really want to change that panel, fine. He was really generous with his time.
That's good, and it's good that you mentioned the thing about someone who's giving you feedback and constructive criticism, because that is a huge part of the process where a lot of indie creators that I talk to, I know myself, I fall into it because it's just me and my buddy doing it, and we make it as good as we can between the two of us, but we're very much on the same wavelength. Any third person might be like, what is this?
Yeah,
so
no, the third person
feedback.
you need that objective feedback. You really do. I've learned that more than anything. I think I was so 6 years ago, me was not as open to that kind of feedback. And now I crave it.
Oh, you need it. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather have somebody tell me that the second draft of my script is crap than I get the whole comic book done and put it out in the world.
100%. Yes. No, I'm with you. Totally. Yes. No, I'm always looking for somebody to see where I'm at. And like Adam Beecham's been awesome about looking at work of mine out here. And then also Top Shelf's editor, he does like sessions. You have to like book him way ahead. And he charges a fee. But Chris Staros, you should look up what he does. He does like these consulting hour Zoom meetings with you. He's awesome.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, he's great. He's his services are highly recommended.
Really solid tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we've gone on some wild tangents. I appreciate you indulging me on that. Do you want to just do a Corollary wrap up so people know where to find you, where to find Corollary?
Yes, love to. So Corollary is now going to be a collected trade. It's like 115, 20 pages of amazingness. You can get it through SourcePoint Press on their website, but you also can get it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, you name it. It's going to be click and get it. If you do go Amazon, I might as well just do this shameless self-promotion. Give it a rating. Give it the 5-star rating that it deserves.
Yes.
All that stuff. I mean, I'm not good at this kind of thing as far as like remembering like all these algorithms help. So please give it all the love you can. Reach out to me. I love talking to anybody. It doesn't have to be about Corollary. It can be about anything about comics. Twitter is like easy place for me. I have that right there at Adam Rose 74, but I'm also on Instagram at Shazam Cap. I somehow got that name before I think the first Shazam movie came out. So those are like the big two spots to find me. But Corollary's coming now. You can order it. You can pre-order it from all those different places. Simon & Schuster's partnered with SourcePoint Press, so I know they're making it easier to find as well. So now that it's a trade, because I have a lot of friends and family that aren't comic book store people. It was really hard to explain, you got to get them to pre-order it, or you got to do this. Now, all that, anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, you can get Corollary with the click of a button. It's now that easy.
That's awesome. And that should be coming, like we
Mid to
covered.
late October.
Should be mid-October, yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, Adam, thanks again. And really reach out when your other stuff is doing something, and we'll talk about it again.
I appreciate it, Adam, and likewise. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd like to thank Adam one more time for taking time out of his very busy schedule to once again come on the show and talk to me about all things geek, comic cons, Corollary, of course, all great things. Corollary, the trade paper, or the trade paperback, I do believe it's a paperback. The whole compilation, the whole story is there for you via Source Point Press, which is also awesome. Coming very soon, available in tons of places. You're going to be able to find it, and I recommend you do. Please remember to like and subscribe. We got a lot more interviews, new movie coverage, comic coverage. I should be doing a review of Corollary very soon. Just been incredibly busy. Lots of good stuff coming. You're not going to want to miss out. Like, subscribe, bell, all the good stuff. Speaking of not want to miss out, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month you get multiple monthly bonus shows, audio and video. We are going to be doing Rhode Island Comic Con coming up and Bing Comic Con coming up, so check us out for more con coverage. And we love hearing feedback. Drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, I'm also a comic creator. I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. Tons of issues available now. More on the way. You can find all of them at socialstudiescomic.com or on Comixology, including Comixology Unlimited. And as I previously mentioned, I will be at Bing Comic Con with Social Studies, and then Rhode Island Comic Con as Press with So Wizard, but of course I will have Social Studies on me. Come and find us, come talk comics, come grab Social Studies. Thanks.